Can you believe it's been a whole year since Arctic Monkeys released their latest album, The Car? Where has the time gone? As well as being an album subject to much controversy and scrutiny, and aside for being an absolute melting pot for rife, sonic-focused debate amongst hardcore indie rock music fans, Arctic Monkeys' 7th studio album did much more than just cause a stir. It propelled the band to embark on what was their largest global tour ever, selling out stadiums across the world, headlining Glastonbury Festival for the third time people, and being nominated for several accolades such as the Mercury Prize, all whilst being the worst selling album in the band's discography, and their most divisive. Critics heaped praise on the band, branding The Car a swashbuckling string-fueled epic, and giving them rave reviews, 5 stars, and that's unheard of. Meanwhile, the reaction from the band's fanbase would be much more mixed, with some fans downright confused at the band's latest offering. Fast-paced and erratic rock drum fills replaced with subtle and intelligent jazzy turnarounds, guitar solos replaced with piano solos, and the band's frontman Alex Turner going full lounge lizard crooner, and seemingly losing the ability to sing in time with his own songs.
You said you gotta pick up in the morning, then I haven't early night, and you're starting to bore me, baby. Why'd you only call me when you're high?
All jokes aside, now that we've had time to sit with The Car for a whole year, it's a good time to reflect on what has changed and what hasn't, because we all know that sometimes albums can grow on us, and although we might not fully understand them straight away, they can start to make more sense over time. I mean, we've seen that countless times over the past years. The Beatles' Abbey Road comes to mind, for example, so does Radiohead's Kid A. I'm pretty sure that even when What's the Story Morning Glory came out, the critics despised it, calling it generic rubbish, essentially. These were all albums that were initially hated by many critics and fans, that went on to become classics. And so, with that sentiment in mind, I have a few burning questions that I feel like I need to answer in this video. What have we learnt about Arctic Monkeys' latest album, The Car, over the past year? And has that changed our opinion of what we think of the album? And more importantly, what can we expect next from the band? So the initial reaction for the recorded album was very mixed, and I do actually think there's good reason for that, to be fair. The album seemed to have been recorded and mixed in a very strange way, I thought, with Alex's vocals being really dry sounding, seemingly no vocal layering at all, minimal to no effects to give the vocal energy, and mixed to sit on top of the instrumental rather than in the middle of the instrumental, like we heard on AM for example. And the same with the drum sounds too, lacking in punch and the same energy that we've heard on previous Arctic Monkeys albums. Even the loudness of the album is significantly lower than other modern records, which for radio play and things like that just doesn't really go in the band's favour. And whilst I do think that this stylistic choice works really well on songs like Mirrorball and Jet Skis to name a few, it doesn't really work for songs like Sculptures of Anything Goes, and maybe even Body Pain. When the band opened with Sculptures at Glastonbury, I was kind of taken aback by how the song escalated in terms of energy when it was played live. When the guitars came in, it sounded massive, just full of life. But on the record, it kind of just sounds one-dimensional to me, and it doesn't really build in the same way, never really gets out of second gear sort of thing. But having sat with the record for a year now, I do actually think many of the stylistic choices made on The Car were the right ones overall. There are many songs on the album that do sound great. Perfect Sense and Big Ideas, for example, sound fantastic. And on these tracks, I think the production has been nailed. And the songs make you feel like, I guess you're supposed to feel when you hear these types of songs, which is the whole point of it, isn't it? It's what it's all about. The tour, however, is where I think the real criticism started, mostly by fans of the band that were around for the first 2 albums and then popped up again for AM. You know, the kind of people that wear bucket hats. There were comments about the band not being interactive enough with the crowd. I was at Glastonbury and I actually quite liked it, because at the end of the day it's all about the music. And I don't know, maybe that's the point that the band were trying to make. There's also this notion that they've slowed down their older songs. I don't know if I agree with that. For me, it's more the reworking of their older songs to fit their new sound and aesthetic. I mean, they've got it bang on for me with some of the older songs like Crying Lightning and the halftime solo that they go into these days. and the whole Star Treatment I Wanna Be Yours mashup, which is fantastic. And they got it wrong on other songs like 505, an instance here where I just think the band are trying to do too much. Since the song's TikTok revival, it just makes more sense to play the song how it was recorded, I think. No need to mess with it. We also had comments about Alex Turner not singing in time with the music and applying his crooning technique to older songs, which doesn't bother me personally too much, but I can understand for others why it would. On older Arctic Monkey songs, the vocals are certainly more rhythmic than melodic, which I guess for those songs is really important to help the song bounce and flow. That said, sonically, the live shows were just incredible this time around for me. The sheer variety of songs in the band's back catalogue just make for such an interesting live show, and although the setlist changes show to show, there's a clear theme that sort of runs throughout each one. The shows usually start off with a run of Arctic Monkeys' older, sort of more popular 3-minute rock songs. Think your Teddy Pickers, your Snap Out of It, Don't Sit Down, View from the Afternoons, those kind of tunes. And over the course of the show, it becomes something much more, when the band eventually kicks into that third and fourth gear with songs like 4 Out of 5, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, and Mirrorball. It simply just adds a whole new dimension to the band's sound with pianos and other instrumentation that's included in those songs. And by the time the band get to Body Pain, it's just like a full-on rock symphony. And the orchestration of everybody's parts, including the additional stage musicians, is just amazing. Like, really something to behold. Take Hello You, for example, which the band only really started playing live towards the end of their tour, seemingly because the song is so hard to pull off live and it probably took the band a couple of months to work it out. But when the band did, just wow. I love how Alex starts on vocals and guitar front and centre, and then moves to the piano after that jazzy turnaround for that extended outro. And I love how at that point Jamie stops playing keys, picks up his guitar and starts playing slide. There's loads of examples of these sort of instrumental changes on Big Ideas and 4 out of 5 and songs like that, and by the end of the show it's very clear that the band have become so much more than just a 4-piece rock band, which is what they started the show with. The songs off the car fit perfectly into the set, in my view, and just give the live show something extra, something special. And the fact they had a live orchestra for the Dublin shows, amazing. Although I don't know why they didn't just have a live orchestra for the whole tour. Would have been something to behold, I reckon. Full on rock opera. I actually went to see the S Club reunion gig at the O2 a couple of days ago. Don't ask me why, but it was possibly the worst live music show I've ever seen, ever. Like the most one-dimensional show I've ever seen. Like no dynamism in the sounds, same sounds throughout the entire set, no change in volume really, nothing. No ballads, no hard hitters, just the same level for an hour and a half, the same. Boring as. But really interesting to compare that to an Arctic Monkeys show from the perspective of variation between songs in a set. Monkeys have tons of it, especially with the car being so different, and I actually think that's why their live shows are so good. I mean, I saw the band 4 times this year, and I'd probably get tickets to see them again if they announce more live dates this year. Just brilliant. So, has my opinion of the car changed somewhat since it was released? Well, yes and no. On the one hand, the album has massively grown on me, and I find it a really enjoyable listen now from start to finish. And yes, I am so glad that the band ended up deciding to go down the sonic route, because the end result is just a more interesting and varied discography, and a much more interesting and exciting live show, beyond anything that I would have imagined the band being capable of when they released their first few albums. I do still think that, I don't know, maybe they should have got a more renowned mix engineer to actually mix the album and sort of bring some more cohesion and energy to the mixes on them. That said, I do still feel like it's a record that I can listen to over and over again. But is it a classic? Is it a masterpiece that will stand the test of time? Well, only time will tell, I guess. All I'll say though is that when I listen to the car, I can't help but liken it to the journey that the Beatles went on with their sound. From Please Please Me to Abbey Road, for example. A world apart, but both amazing records in very different ways. Arctic Monkeys certainly look like they're on a similar path, just saying. So all of this is up for debate, but for me, what is clear is that over the past 10 years, Arctic Monkeys have been a band that are trying to get away from their initial fame, success, hype of their first couple of records, and the expectation that comes with that. They even seem to have rebranded themselves just Monkeys, as we've seen on the Tranquility Base tour and now again with the car. And naturally that begs the question, what is next for the Arctic Monkeys? Well, Matt Helders has said in a recent interview that he doesn't expect the band to re-enter the studio anytime soon, and that due to the size of their current global tour, they're going to need a well-needed rest before thinking about jumping into the studio and making any more new music, which makes perfect sense. I would rather the band take time to reflect and come back into the studio refreshed with new ideas and something new to say. Too many bands for me release an album a year or 2 years apart, and the consequence is they sound like they haven't really moved on. The album just sounds the same as their previous work with no real new ideas. Arctic Monkeys, on the other hand, for me, are the definition of reinvention when it comes to making albums. That said, as a fan, I really hope we don't have to wait another 5 years for another Arctic Monkeys album. But one thing is for sure, whatever it is that the band decide to do next, I've shotgunned the passenger seat and I'll be there for the ride. And I hope that you lot watching will be here with me to enjoy the journey. With everything that the band has learnt with their experimentation on Tranquility Base and the car, if they do decide to return to their rock roots, it will be very interesting indeed to see what the band come up with when they take that traditional rock formula and put it through their internal sausage machine of everything that they've learned and picked up on these journeys with Tranquility Base and the car. I literally can't wait. So as we come to the end of another Arctic Monkeys era, in the astonishing career of, in my opinion, the greatest British band of this decade, we ask ourselves, does the car have a place in our long-term record collection? Will it gather dust over time? Or will it continue to be given a whirl many years from now? Do let me know in the comments below. Has your opinion of the car changed since it was released a year ago? Or do you still feel the same way about it now? And with that said, I sincerely hope you enjoyed this video and found it insightful, thought-provoking, interesting, all that good stuff. Do hit that like button to show your support. A sub to the channel will be hugely appreciated. And if you are interested in watching some of my other videos on the car, which are numerous, I must say, then here on screen are a few links to some videos that you might want to watch next. I also did a video fairly recently on why I thought everybody was wrong about Arctic Monkeys' Glastonbury performance. If you fancy checking that one out, a lot of people seem to resonate with it and enjoy it, so could be worth a watch if you're a long-time fan like myself. Oh, and don't forget my new single All In is out in just a few weeks' time. Stay tuned for the final video in this series releasing next week, breaking down how I made the new song. Pre-save link in bio as well. Thank you ever so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.